So much to unpack tonight on the program. Well, let's bring in our Rise News analyst, Frank Tietie, who joins me now in the studios. Frank, thank you so much for being here. And of course, you know what? The politics is getting heated. And let's take a look at the All Progressives Congress and its presidential candidate. He's been moving around, especially in southern Nigeria. But I want to talk to you about Delta State. The fact that we've seen him, really move around in areas where politics and campaigns might not be as popular back in the day. And first of all, let's talk about the chances of the APC in a Delta, which has been predominantly a PDP state since the return to democracy. Do you think, some things might change in 2023?
A whole lot might have to change because you need to see such strong, smart and strategic interventions by the APC. Undoubtedly, Delta State is a PDP stronghold. And it's expected that the PDP will always repeat what it has always done by being in political control since 1999 after the turn of democracy. But what Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing is also something that has been historically done before by the legendary Awolowo, who has actually visited such places that at that time were literally impassable to motor vehicles. But you see, the Tinubu campaign team is quite smart to have thought that, realizing that they shouldn't even bother to go to the Asaba area, the state capital. They dared to make some move in Warri. But when you consider that, personalities like the Minister of State for Petroleum, Timi Presiva, the Minister of Labour, Festus Keyamo, together with the Deputy Senate President who is running for governorship, they intend to not to, overstretch their luck and then to concentrate on a group of people, the Jaws, who have a very strong link within the South-South, and then a linkage outside the South-South, among the South-South states. So that's what they are concentrating their attention on. And definitely, even if they don't take the PDP from, they don't take Delta State from PDP, definitely they will make very strong inroads this time around in 2023.
When you talk about making a strong inroad, are you referring to the gubernatorial race, or you're looking in general, looking at the APC and their chances? Looking at the fact that the strategy, which you have alluded to, they changed it a little bit, and we're seeing the candidate really be very vocal about what he intends to offer the people. He
was not only vocal; he had the strength and courage to directly make some innuendos. I would rather say not so direct against Atiku Abubakar. It was direct against Abubakar, and then he made an innuendo against Peter Obi as for someone bandying statistics that are unrealistic, whereas Atiku Abubakar advising Atiku Abubakar to go and rest. So it's quite ironical. But you see, to the first part of your question, I think we're discussing Tinubu here. It's a different ball game. Tinubu is going to make strong inroads in the South state. It's particularly having focused on the Jaw ethnic group by visiting those riverine areas, the way he has done, seeing the likes of lords like Tompolo. But when it comes to governorship, it's going to be entirely different. The Deputy Senate President may not enjoy the kind of support that the PDP
He's going up against the current speaker,
yes, Sheriff Oboriwori is taking a different line of action. He's trying to say he's being his own man, selling himself. He's a PDP stalwart, he's a PDP loyalist, but he's saying that, look at me, you can trust me. And somehow he endears himself to the people, especially the people of Delta Central, from where he comes from. And then he also has the Asaba support, so with the governor there. So I think in terms of governorship, Sheriff Oboriwori appears to be very strong. But when it comes to this presidential, campaign that Tinubu has taken, unprecedented move that Tinubu has made into the riverine area, going to Oporosa, it's something that would have been unthinkable. But Timi Presiva, Festus Keyamo, and the Deputy Senate President may have contributed a lot to saying that, look, let's go, let's
so
let's be
it's a strategy. It's a strategy. What taking,
yes.
And of course, it is going. We'll see how that pays off. But staying with Tinubu, during the course of the week, it was confirmed that Afenifere, at least the Adebanjo part of it, they actually confirmed that they are in full support of not one of their own, but instead Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party. And someone had the opinion that Tinubu might not enjoy so much support in the Southwest, where he's from. But looking at the rally they held today in Lagos, well, some would argue that is his home. But would you say, what would you Your reaction to this crowd and all of that school of thoughts that he might not enjoy as much support in the Southwest?
If you have the Afenifere faction supporting Peter Obi, it's a matter of principle, which is good for our country, it's good for the Nigerian Federation. But again, when you now look at politics, the Southwest is very cohesive in terms of politics. That cohesion transcends party lines and even transcends matters of principle. So the Yoruba race, it's a distinctive race, and it knows from time immemorial how to pursue its interest. And they cannot, be the ones that will frustrate one of their own who is closest to the presidency in 2023 than ever. So the expectation and the reflection, what we see in these rallies is just what I think that is going to happen in the Southwest with regards to Tinubu's followership. It's quite popular there. He will take it. He will take it.
He will take it?
Yes.
Well, we'll wait and see that happens. We're staying in the Southwest. But this time around, let's just move over to Ekiti State where, just a month of having a new governor, we're seeing, we saw the death of the speaker. And of course, we saw a speaker being named, in his place. But eventually there's an impeachment, which has raised all sorts of dust. We've seen a lot of condemnation and, all of that in Ekiti State. But let's talk about the politics in Ekiti State and what you make of all that has happened in the last couple of days.
Oh, well, contention of political forces in Ekiti State is about control of the House. And the speaker, the personality of the speaker is it's very important when it comes to, supporting the policies and programs of government to the extent of making laws, particularly the most important law, the appropriation bill that eventually becomes law. So it's important that these things are, the governor and then the executive gets it right, and then the party being the center of affair at this time. But you see, the dramatic aspect is when you have the heavyweights of Nigerian lawyers that are concentrated in Ekiti State, beginning from the Are himself, Afe Babalola, together with the likes of Femi Falana, and then Wole Onalipaku, all coming together to
all speaking with one voice, condemning.
It shows that it's quite interesting. Again, it shows that they are quite concerned about Ekiti State. For once, they are speaking in such unison, in condemnation. So what will happen? It shows that there will be a whole lot of accountability in the way Ekiti State government will be run. But it should go beyond that. Who are those who are actually behind this? Clearly, I don't see much of illegality in what has happened. Rather, there is a political undertone which the most learned senior advocates, the respected senior advocates have seen, and they don't know how to actually express it other than to condemn it.
Right, but at the end of the day, we have to look at the fact that Governor Oyebanji is barely a month. I remember, I think he was sworn in on the 16th of October, barely a month on that seat. What would you say, all that is happening in Ekiti State says about transition from one governor to another and the cohesion with thoughts they had within the APC, because it's from one APC to another.
Divisions and contentions in the State House of Assembly, particularly in Ekiti State, and then within parties are not often always bad. It could also lead to a whole lot of accountability. So there is a handwriting on the wall with some suspicion that the former governor, the erstwhile governor, Kayode Fayemi, has an unseen hand of his in this whole thing. But what it means is that it's just about interest. It depends what's that interest. Is it interest in the people of Ekiti State, or some self-serving interest on the part of the governor that just left? But what's also important is that in terms of transition, a new governor should have some measure of certainty, and not a replication of the Rashidi Ladoja days, where they will just sit in one hotel and then decide to remove the governor because he's not kowtowing, he's not agreeing to sign certain things, sign checks the way he should sign. So if it's about development, if the interest about development, if it's the interest about stability and peace of Ekiti State and progress of the people, fine, let's have some division to that effect.
Right. Well, I wish we could still talk more, because El Rufai is talking about Oyo State and, the fact that it will be tough to unseat.
And it's quite candid about it. Candid about knowing really, that it's very difficult to have a hard-working governor like Makinde. It's not a pushover in any day.
But he's had his own issues. The PDP in Oyo State still have their own issues there. But at the end of the day, we'll have to say thank you so much, Barrister Frank Tietie, for joining me tonight on the program.